Hey everyone, welcome to Sidetrack Adventures. This is Steve. Right now I'm standing on Highway 101 in California's far north. And through most of California, Highway 101 is known as El Camino Real, as it largely follows the path of the Spanish missions through the state until it reaches Sonoma County, where the northernmost mission is located. There, Highway 101 becomes the Redwood Highway. Well, today we're going to be exploring the Redwood Highway in the northwest corner of California. We are starting today's journey just north of Klamath, California, and the plan is to explore the last 35 miles or so of the Redwood Highway until it reaches Oregon. I think it's pretty clear why this is called the Redwood Highway. In a lot of places, the redwoods are right on the road, really making them a feature of the highway itself. Highway 101 once traveled from San Diego at the border with Mexico to Olympia, Washington, not far from Canada. But the southernmost part of the highway has been decommissioned and replaced by Interstate 5. These days, the southern terminus is in Los Angeles. In the southern part of the state, it's a major road as it travels through cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco. And one of the most famous bridges in the world, the Golden Gate Bridge, is even part of Highway 101. But up in this area, it is far less traveled. Highway 101 in the south largely followed the path of El Camino Real, which was a commemorative route connecting the 21 Spanish missions in California. Back in Spanish times, El Camino Real originated in Mexico City, but the modern route came about in the late 1800s. There are other roads that are a part of El Camino Real as well, and parts of Highway 101 are known briefly by names such as the Santa Ana Freeway, the Hollywood Freeway, the Ventura Freeway, and the Bayshore Freeway. Once you get to where the missions end, it doesn't make much sense to continue using the El Camino Real name, so shortly after crossing the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, Highway 101 becomes the Redwood Highway. The Redwood Highway is about 350 miles in length, but we're only covering the last 10% or so today as it reaches the northwest corner of California. We've just made our first stop, and it's amazing. There didn't seem to be a cloud in the sky while we were driving, and as soon as we get to the coast, it is completely overcast. We were at the Crescent Beach Overlook, where there's supposed to be a great view of the Crescent City harbor. This sign shows us everything we should see. But I don't think we're going to be seeing the harbor today. And just for reference, it's about 12:30 p.m. right now. It is supposed to clear up later at least. When you visit the Northern California or Oregon coast, you kind of have to expect this kind of weather at least part of the day. Somewhere in front of us is Crescent City, which is the only incorporated city in California's Del Norte County. There are a couple people down on the beach below us. We'll be checking out the beach a little bit later, a little bit further to the north. Anyways, let's continue north and head to Crescent City. This was once the site of several Tolowa Indian settlements, but like a lot of places in California, the discovery of gold in the area brought in people from around the world. The crescent-shaped beach up here made a great natural harbor, and Crescent City was incorporated in 1854. And here's a look back towards that viewpoint we were at just a few minutes ago. This is the Crescent City Harbor. Within a few short years of the city's founding, because of this harbor, it had become a major shipping and trading center. Apparently this is also a great spot for seals and sea lions to hang out because there are quite a few of them here. And in the background we get a glimpse of the Battery Point Lighthouse, which dates to the 1850s, but we'll take a closer look at that later. Who said you need snow to build a snowman? We just finished eating lunch and it has cleared up a lot. Here's looking back to the Crescent Beach viewpoint again, and now we can actually see it. Now that it's cleared up, let's head over and check out the lighthouse. The Battery Point Lighthouse is one of the oldest lighthouses in California. It went into operation in 1856. We'll walk over and take a closer look. At low tide, you could walk to the lighthouse and they do tours, but unfortunately, we are long past low tide now. It's amazing the lighthouse still stands, as this area is really susceptible to tsunamis, and a couple of times Crescent City has taken major damage from them. The 1964 Alaska earthquake, which was the strongest earthquake ever recorded in the Northern Hemisphere, sent a tsunami here that destroyed 289 buildings, including most of downtown. Since 1933, there have been 32 tsunamis that have been observed in Crescent City, so I imagine this lighthouse has taken a pounding, especially when you consider it was constructed in the mid-1800s. Originally, we were going to try to time it so that we would get to Crescent City during low tide so we could visit the lighthouse, but road construction on the way here delayed us by over an hour and a half, so we just decided to take our time because there was no way we were going to make it. Somewhere under the waves here is the path to get out there. The lighthouse actually closed in 1965, but it was reopened in 1982 and is operated by the Del Norte Historical Society now. There's someone mowing the lawn over there right now. There is a bit of dark history here as well. A few years before the lighthouse was built, near here at Battery Point, there was a conflict that led to the second largest mass killing of Native Americans in United States history. I'll tell the story of what happened as we take our chances heading out onto this jetty. I see a few other people out here as well, and I'm curious to what those weird shaped things at the end are. And here's a look back at the Battery Point Lighthouse. And I've noticed this cable along the path. I don't know if this is to grab onto in case one of those deadly waves come to avoid being washed off the side. Probably not, but I'm not exactly sure what this cable is for. In 1850, California passed the misleadingly named Act for the Government and Protection of Indians, which authorized the killing or enslavement of natives in the state. Part of the law said that a white person could not be convicted for any offense upon the testimony of an Indian. In the spring of 1853, a group of prospectors led by a man named California Jack started from Crescent City on a prospecting journey. They planned to go a few miles north of here to the Smith River. Not long after, a Tolowa was seen here at Battery Point carrying a pistol with California Jack engraved on it. Townspeople had assumed the natives had killed the prospectors, and they attacked the natives, killing them. The townspeople then organized a search party to find the prospectors. Once the bodies were found, the townspeople became enraged. A militia of 33 men was organized, and they surrounded a meeting of various native tribes that were gathered for a prayer ceremony near the mouth of the Smith River. The natives' primitive weapons were no match for the townspeople's modern guns, and an estimated 150 to 600 natives were killed in the massacre. They then burned everything that was left to the ground. I know, that's probably not a story the area puts on its tourist brochures. So now that we're closer, we can see what those shapes at the end of the jetty are. These are called dolos, and they're used to break up the force of the waves during storms. Each one of these weighs 42 tons, but they still occasionally get moved by the waves, which shows just how strong these storms can be. I jokingly mentioned holding onto that cable earlier. I don't think holding onto that cable is going to save you from a wave that can move these. They have this shape so that they sort of interlock to help reinforce them, and their shape is to dissipate the force of the waves rather than to try and stop the waves. Each of these are individually numbered so they could track their displacement, and some of them even have trackers in them. That sound we keep hearing, there's a warning tone at the end of the jetty. A lot of times this thing is covered in fog, and it's impossible for boats to see. Check out these chains here. This is probably where they have a kraken chained up just offshore. Either that or it's to keep some of these in place. I like to believe there's a kraken out there though. Just imagine the force of a wave that are moving these to the point that they have to chain them down. There's a cable going through the chains as well, so there might be some sort of instrument on the end of these. You can't really see where they're going though through all these dolos. I just noticed these giant footprints. Maybe they do have some sort of sea monster chained up out there after all. But we've seen enough dolos. I think it's time to get back on the road. We wanted to stop and check out a few more redwoods here. This is Jedediah Smith Redwood State Park. The roads here pass through the world's tallest and only extensive preserves of old-growth coast redwood trees. It's amazing just how big and how tall these trees get. A few miles south of where we started today, you could find one of those trees that you can actually drive your car through. When we stopped here to film the trees, something kind of caught my eye just as I was about to get back into the car, and I noticed this little path here. There's no signs for this or anything, but it looks like there's a plaque here in the forest. Let's take a look and see what it says. I'm not sure who this is, but this grove is dedicated to them. We're now in Smith River, just a few miles from the Oregon state line, and I had to stop at this abandoned ship that reportedly has quite the history. It's said to have started out as a private boat, but then during World War II, it was used by the Navy as a messenger and weather ship. After it was decommissioned in 1946, it was docked and used as a restaurant and motel office. Then in 1965, they drug it onto the land here, and it became a gift shop and museum until it closed in 2012. Supposedly it closed because the ship wasn't ADA compliant, which, taking a look around, seems pretty believable. This is such a neat looking roadside attraction, and it would be great if somebody can get it reopened. But unfortunately, the longer these places sit abandoned, the less likely that is. Now we have one more stop to make on this trip, and that's to try and visit the exact northwest corner of California. We've actually crossed into Oregon. There was no parking anywhere near the northwest corner in California, so we had to park in Oregon, and we're going to have to backtrack a little bit. We're heading to the beach, and it looks like we'll have to walk about a quarter mile or so south to get to the state line. We're almost back to California. The state line should be between the rocks we can see just off the coast. The closer one is in Oregon, and it's called Camel Rock. And the farther one is in California, and Google Maps doesn't list the name for it, so I don't know what it's called. Okay, so according to my phone, we should be just about there. So this should be just about the northwest corner of California. There's the unnamed California Rock, California, Oregon, there's Camel Rock, and by my guess, this here right in front of us is the northwesternmost corner of land in California. It looks like the unnamed rock is currently inhabited. There are no signs or any markers here designating the state line, so I went ahead and created my own. So this is what the northwest corner of California looks like. So that's our look at the Redwood Highway and the northwest corner of California. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing, and we'll see you next week.